So I would say I started just realizing all these things. I'm not going out and skydiving, but I definitely am living my life to the fullest and trying to squeeze every minute out of that day because the days just get shorter and shorter. So I want to make the most of the days. And that's kind of what I got out of it, was that life is quick. It's not short, but it's quick. So manage your time, take advantage of that time. These people who are with you, acknowledge them and be thankful for them. So, you do take a lot of different things from it, from the different stages that you go through it at. But I would say at the end of it was when I really started opening all these doors and starting companies and meeting more people, establishing more connections.
Welcome back to the 1% Bttr Podcast. Today we have on a guest that I have admired for a very long time. He's someone who has turned one of life's toughest battles into a mission of resilience and giving back. He is the founder of JahFeelz and Gama Printing Company, two brands built on purpose, passion, and community. A cancer survivor, entrepreneur, and an advocate for kids battling illnesses. He's not just creating businesses, he's creating massive, massive impact. Mark Gama, welcome to the show, brother.
How you doing, man? Thank you for having me on today.
Thank you for doing this. So that's a little bit of my my hype man introduction.
You hyping me up.
In your own words, how would you describe yourself and give, for the people that don't know much about you, a little bit of introduction for them as well?
My name is Mark Gama. I'm 30 years old. I was born and raised in Trapp, Pennsylvania. I grew up in Montgomery County, went to St. Eleanor's and then St. Pius and then PV. Graduate of Perkiomen Valley.
Shout out to the alma mater.
So since then, I just kind of took upon, what I wanted to do in life. So I started skateboarding, snowboarding, filming, editing. I started a couple businesses while doing all of that. And now I'm in the transitional phase of starting a family. These past 5 years, we purchased a house, we got married, we have a baby due in like a week or two. So, throughout life, it's been a journey, but you mentioned some of the other things that, I've came across, and I just consider them chapters of my life at this point. So we turn the page and we're trying to keep moving forward. But yes, I did have a battle with cancer. And, instead of getting down on myself or feeling sorry for myself, I actually made a lot of good things come from it. So, that's one of the things in life. You have one door closed, I'm opening up 5 more. And that's what we did. So it's kind of how we're here today, honestly.
I love it. And I love how you referenced it as chapters, because we go through these seasons, these chapters of our lives that can be massive positives, but also learning lessons. I don't even like to call them negatives, because I think they're learning lessons if you look at it through that. As you had what you went through, I'll even reference myself with my brain surgery. There was down points, but from the standpoint of it's what you make out of it as you move into a new chapter. And that's such a positive light of something that is so important to look at it that way, and turning one of those toughest battles into, as I mentioned earlier, resilience and giving back. Did you have a moment when you were going through it where you really decided it's not going to break me, it's going to build me, and this is going to be, I'm going to have a V2 of myself, like a version 2, version 3 of myself from this?
So I would say initially the thought wasn't I'm going to have a version 2 of myself, but the initial thought was I'm going to crush this. I have cancer. Cancer does not have me. So my first question was, what do we do? Let's get this moving. Let's get this started. The quicker that we can get started, the quicker that this can be over. So, as we talked in chapters, I never really wanted to be known as the cancer kid. I didn't want to gain publicity off that or attention, let alone. So I continued to just try to live my life the best that I could. We didn't really tell anyone. When I lost my hair, that's kind of when people started, knowing what was up. And you know what, man, a lot of them wanted to help me. My friends and family got me through all of that. And if they didn't know about it, we wouldn't have been able to accept, the help, whether it was donations for treatments or food just to eat that night. When you're running back and forth from the hospital and you get home and you have a home cooked meal for you, it's priceless, man. You can't, you know what I mean? I'm just so thankful and grateful and blessed. So yeah, from the start, I knew that I was going to get through it, and there was going to be that next chapter, which would be the V2 of myself, which I found out as we were going through it. But initially, man, my thought was, damn, okay, let's embrace it.
How old were you when this first started?
I was 21 years old. I just turned 21. So I was actually down in the city skating and filming when I got a call from my doctor. I previously went earlier that week and I got a little checkup, and I told him, I had a concern and there was this like mass or lump, and I was just like, hey, can you check this out for me? Because I knew it was still in the beginning stages. This just developed. I just noticed it. It didn't hurt, but it was uncomfortable. So that's why I went in. And then I, left that visit not thinking anything of it. And I just continued to, go down to the city and skate and film. And I got that call that one day and I answered it. I still remember we were sitting right on the corner eating pizza and having a beer at this pizza shop for our lunch. And I got the call and he was like, can you come into the office? And I said, well, like, not really. Like, I'm kind of busy right now. And he's like, no, like, we might need to come. You need to come to us with your parents. We kind of need to have a discussion. And at that point, it kind of started hitting me. And I'm like, well, dude, can you just call them? Like, I'm trying to get on with my day right now.
Right.
So we ended up going in the next day, my parents and I, and that's when we got the news from the doctor. Yeah, 21.
One, it's hard to, like me sitting here trying to put myself in your shoes to wrap your head around that. As you were mentioning earlier, you're with your buddies. You're not even remotely even thinking that as a possibility. It doesn't go through your head. You can't get off
the phone and be like, guys, like, I just got this call. Like, I kind of had to just keep it into myself. And, I ended the day shortly after that. But it's a weird position to be in. You know what I mean? And you have your buddies who, might look up to you or you look up to them, and you don't want to, I wouldn't say embarrass yourself. That's not the correct word, but you don't want to
vulnerability.
You don't want to be a downer on the day.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I just kind of went home and I had the discussion with my parents. And then when we went in the next day, that's when the whole process started, I guess you could say.
So then the process, you're in this now. And I've heard stories from a standpoint of how processes go for different people and things like that. But how from initial news to, okay, let's do this, we're going to get the treatment, we're going to go through it, where is your head at in all of this?
Like I said, I just wanted to get this done. Like,
just rock.
Let's do it. You know what I mean? So initially, it didn't seem that serious at first. They said that you should be able to get a minor surgery, which removes the mass and like a vein and a couple other things. It's like a week recovery time. I can do it right here in Pottstown. So it was a local hospital. I didn't have to travel, and they said you should be good. So within a week, I would say I probably had the treatment and the surgery at Pottstown. Mm-hmm. We went back, however many days later. They ran the test, the blood work, the MRIs and CT scans, and they called me again. And they said, hey, we need you to come back to the office again. It's like, all right, great. Like, what now? What now?
Right. What's next?
So he actually told me that it spread to my lower abdominal area after that surgery. And it's like, all right, at this point, I'm like, I still have it in me, but I'm kind of starting to lose it a little bit.
Yeah.
And I said, what's next? And they brought up chemotherapy. So I had to do rounds and rounds and rounds of chemotherapy. There was 2 different options. It was EP or BEP. The BEP was a more extreme version of chemotherapy. It has a drug called blemosin in it, I believe, which attacks it quicker. They prefer to give that to the younger crowd who has cancer because their bodies can handle it better and it can fight off the cancer quicker.
Right.
Essentially, better results. So we went with that. I was healthy. I was 21, athletic. So we figured my body could handle that extra drug in the chemotherapy. Dude, I think I was there 4 days a week. I got like 1 day off or something like that. Or maybe it was Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but it was every week for weeks, man.
Yeah.
And again, they were like, all right, you should be good. I had the last treatment. I rang the bell. I'm on cloud 9. I'm feeling good. And we get another call from the doctor. And they said it is still there and it actually moved to your lower back at this point. So now I'm like, dude, all right, let's go. Like, what do we do? And after a bunch of calls, I actually had to go up to New York to Memorial Sloan Kettering Hospital.
Oh, yeah.
There's a specialist up there. I don't know how we got into him this quickly, but he accepted our surgery or however the surgeons go about that. And he was all for it. He wanted to help me. He's such a distinguished doctor, Dr. Joel Seinfeld. And I can't thank him enough. But that surgery was the big one. And they basically cut me open from like here to here. And they take out all your organs. They scrape out the front of my lower abdominal area, the back. They put everything in. They sit you back up. And then from there, I mean, I'm sure you can relate to this. You basically have to learn how to do everything again. I was learning how to stand up straight and breathe and walk. And, you're concentrated so much on the physical that you forget the emotional and mental part of it.
Yeah.
So that was another journey. A little bit later on, once I got better physically, dude, that hit me like a brick wall because you're so concentrated on just doing your everyday functions again that it doesn't hit you. You're that young, and that trauma that you just went through and the side effects from it and how people even view you after that. So it's a lot, but after that, there was a couple more treatments and like I had to get drained and nothing crazy. But after that, that was,
you were good. Amazing.
So in a nutshell, that was my journey.
One part of your journey, and I can't even. I tip my hat and all my hats behind me, like to what you went through and your mindset and how strong it is. And as much as for people that don't know Mark, he's a lover, like just a very kind, genuine, authentic person that you get to come in contact with. And from the first time we met each other, like I read that immediately.
The energy was there between us, man.
The energy was really there. And
you're a people person too. Your family and friends mean the world to you.
Totally. Yeah, man. And as much as you use that word lover, you have such a fighter's mentality too, though. Like you don't go through all that journey without having like, I got this I'm a fighter when it comes to this. And that's not easy. And the types of people you have to meet along the journey, I'm sure like when you're there, they're not seeing that, like that type of mindset that you have the way you did. Like, did you come across anybody like that?
So, one, you do have to be strong personally, but the people who are around you during that journey, my family and friends, I would not have been able to do it around them.
Oh, yeah.
Every day is not a good day. Some days you feel good coming out of chemo. Other days you feel like you're on your deathbed.
Yeah.
I was going skating in the city on the good days. On the bad days, I was passed out in the seat, just, waiting to get home, throwing up on the side of 76 or wherever it may have been. But throughout all that, what was your question?
No, the types of people that you come across. Yeah.
So you come across very positive people. You come
Mm,
across people who have been in this chemo cancer center for a while.
yeah.
With that being said, their positivity might not be the same as a 21-year-old's
Mm,
that is just kind of starting this process.
right.
Now, I've always tried to put myself in other people's shoes and see it from their side of things. But overall, 90% of the people were awesome. And the nurses were like so hyped to see me because there was like energy in the room again.
Mm,
But I do remember this one guy. They kind of started putting me in the back corner away from everyone. I always had visitors coming in. I had a different friend drive me every day.
mhm,
And I remember this one, he was probably 65, 70 years old, and he was going to the bathroom. And he, kept looking over at me. And the one day he finally stopped and he was like, he basically said, like, yeah, the cancer's gonna get you, man. I've been in here for how long? And I said, what the fuck? I said,
yeah.
no, 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 no. And I stood up and I didn't
Confronted
curse
him.
him out or anything, but I got very vocal with him and people
Yeah.
started turning their heads. I said, get out of here. I said, I don't need this.
Yeah.
The nurses were smiling because I guess he's just a negative person.
Mm,
He's been doing it for years, but I'll never forget that one person who they might rock you so hard that you do flip to that other side.
yeah.
So I always will remember that experience. And no matter what anyone says to you, positive or negative, you need to continue to just, have that tunnel vision and complete what your vision is.
Yeah.
You
Is
know,
is that the biggest lesson that you took from that entire experience was like how you approached it, or was there something else?
I would say coming out of it, you
Yeah.
start to have this different perspective on life,
Yeah.
whether it's time, the people, what you're doing financially, what your job route's going to be. You know, this happened to me is not long after high school. So I
Mm.
was taking college courses. Well, that kind of puts a halt to everything. You can't go to school anymore. You can't work anymore. You still have to pay these hospital bills somehow. So I would say I started just realizing all these things. I'm not going out and skydiving, but I definitely am living my life to the fullest and trying to squeeze every minute out of that day because the days just get shorter and shorter. Like, so I want to make the most of the days. And that's kind of what I got out of it was that life is quick. It's not short, but it's quick. So manage your time, take advantage of that time. These people who are with you, acknowledge them and be thankful for them. So, you know, you do take a lot of different things from it, from the different stages that you go through it at. But I would say at the end of it was when I really started opening all these doors and starting companies and meeting more people, establishing more connections. I pushed my snowboarding and skateboarding even further than I was before. So I said this to you earlier. A lot of people could have had that as an excuse. Oh, I had cancer. I can't do anything else anymore. No, no, no. We make moves. We don't make excuses. So started making moves.
I absolutely love that because I resonate a lot with that. Didn't go through even a smidge of what you did, but from a standpoint
You know what,
of
man? You did though. Like it might not be the same, but we can definitely relate on that.
sure, yeah, what you mentioned though, from how fragile life is, how quickly it goes. It's almost like the days are long, but the years are short type thing. Like
That's a good saying right there.
it moves fast, and before you know it, I mean, you're in a different place, different situation. And I think
It's not the
we're
same.
we're, we're in such an instant gratification world right now where everybody's looking for the quick fix, the quick things. But the route that I'm thinking of, just from a standpoint of where my head went after, was like maximizing every potential thing. And like what you mentioned, you went harder with skating, snowboarding, endeavors, connecting with people. I felt that same type of energy for
Yes.
myself because it's just like tomorrow's not guaranteed.
It's
So it's
not.
like take
And like I said,
advantage
you're
of it.
not going jumping out of planes, but you are maximizing that time that you have in a day, you
Yeah.
know?
I would say the last piece of that too is living with like purpose. There's a purpose behind it, and then even your businesses building with purpose. And that's kind of the next thing that I wanted to jump into was JahFeelz and how that came from all about this. And talk to me a little bit about that before I even ask the question. I would love for listeners to
So
hear more about the
your
background with it.
this transition question is perfect. So I actually came up with the idea when I was in the chemo room. Like I said, I couldn't go to school, I couldn't work. I was kind of just on standstill.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. It's JahFeelz is something I started saying in like my childhood. We just all started saying it to each other. It means like you feels me, I get you. Like, you know, then it started transforming into JahFeelz, and started saying it more and more. It just kind of like became this thing that was attached to me. The year prior, I actually ended up making a logo. So I had a logo. I kind of had this base foundation that I started, but I didn't really put it into fruition yet. So while I was sitting there in the chemo center, I was just like, I got to do something. Like, and that's when it hit me. I said, dude, now's your chance. Like, you can do this brand clothing company that you've always wanted to do. I remember I was spray painting t-shirts in high school, and who would have thought 5 years later, I started a clothing company. But the reason I started it was I've always wanted to do the whole clothing thing. I've always been into fashion and filming and putting out videos and having that brand to attach to it. Also, the memories that you get to make with your friends, priceless.
Yeah.
And it's documented.
Yes.
But I mean, I will never forget. I was just sitting there and I'm thinking, how is a person half my age doing this? How is a 6-year-old doing this? How are kids in Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, CHOP, doing this every day too? Like, I'm considered an adult at this point, but how is a kid doing this?
Right.
So my thought was, these adults aren't helping the younger adults. Well, maybe I can make the difference and help the kids. And at least, I don't know, maybe start putting it out there to my friends. Like, giving back is still cool. Like, whether it's to a cancer kid, to the community, to an event, whatever it might be. So I set up the company, and part of my mission statement was that I wanted to give back to the kids fighting cancer. And that's when it started. So I had a portion of my proceeds of the hoodies and t-shirts that I started selling go towards Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. Now, this is the catch. I never really liked the whole donating money thing. You don't know where it goes. You don't see it. To each their own. I would rather personally impact these kids and these families. So I started donating toys, games, video games, gift cards, even the gift cards that helped the family out, which were Giant or Wawa for food and gas. Yeah. And these families actually reached out and you made that personal connection. Over the years, I've talked to some of these parents and they've asked me for advice. Like, how can I make my kid like a kid again? And I'm telling you, man, it's gone to places that I never thought it would go before. Throughout COVID, the whole CHOP thing got a little bit dicey. Understandably, this is a live disease going around. They don't want sick kids exposed to it. So I transitioned. I started giving back to classrooms in Philadelphia or low-income areas. We then went to food pantries and started doing food drives. 2 years ago, I donated a decent amount of money to this skate park that was being built, and they were using the Love Park ledges in this skate park build. So I was like, this is a pretty cool thing that I could do this year. So I took it from CHOP in the kids in CHOP, and I tried to expand it to kids, teenagers, adults, elderly people. Everyone can be affected and impacted by this in some sort of way.
The thing that I like about one, you doing that is you mentioned making it cool with your friends to give back. I think where people get the most fulfillment is when you're serving others and helping others. I've always
kind of felt feeling that you can't match it by doing anything else.
Nah.
Getting paid's cool, money's cool. It comes and goes though.
Yeah.
Those connections and friendships and moments that you get to impact someone else's life. I mean, dude, that's where it's at. Like,
Yeah. And then the other piece of it too is how you didn't let COVID stop you with CHOP.
if
All it
there's a will,
did
there's
was
a
a
way.
pivot. Love it.
Pivot,
Like
exactly.
it's a pivot and finding another direction to go with this, because I think a lot of people will resonate with this. Anytime you're passionate about something or you care about something enough, like you said, there's a will, there's a way, and you'll find the route to keep it going. And I think that is really powerful for all people to remember. But so now in the story, you have JahFeelz. Gamma printing, was that before JahFeelz, or was it during, or was it an idea that kind of came from just doing what you were kind of just experiencing life?
How do I, it came after JahFeelz.
Okay.
After I was done, battling cancer and everything. I'd say probably a couple months out, I was still doing the JahFeelz thing. I was still getting orders in, and I started having family and friends reach out to me saying like, "Yo, dude, I know you're like printing these now. Is there any way you could print like a dozen shirts for my landscaping company?" Sure. One thing led to the other, and I created a printing company out of it. I started realizing that t-shirts are like an everyday item. Everyone needs them, whether it's a uniform, whether it's a promotional item, whether it's a fundraiser, whether it's a
Yeah.
5K event. Everyone needs t-shirts at every point in the year. So I started printing, and how that came about was I did start outsourcing JahFeelz in the beginning. It was a local, print shop. I wanted to support local, keep it in the community.
Sure.
Let's just say it didn't go as planned or how it was supposed to.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I took a step back and I kind of said, if you want it done right, you do it yourself. So I invested in the equipment, invested in the materials, started printing myself. And that's kind of when my family and friends knew that I was printing, because I started seeing it on my stories and everything. I was showing people the process. From there, dude, word of mouth and referrals
Blew up.
spread quickly. So that was always my, I don't know, mentality with this new company was, if you do good work, the quality will show through. Let the product speak for itself. So I'm coming up on almost a decade of doing this printing now, and I still don't advertise or market or anything. I want my clients to have morals and virtues and values. And if you want to work with me, I would love to work with you. But I'm not going to be here begging,
Yeah, you're
for
not
business.
forcing it.
No,
Yeah, it's very organic with.
organic's a great word for it.
Yeah,
Natural.
it feels very organic with JahFeelz. It's you, it's your authenticity behind everything that you do. And I do think there's so much pressure to fit the mold, especially in business. Like, what is everybody else doing? And if you're just listening this to right now, like you have like a very unique look. Like you are you. Like
And it's never going to
beanie,
change,
dreads,
man.
like button down, but like camo. Like it's a unique look, and you've always had that style to yourself of like, I am who I am.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of people battle with that. What is the hardest part about staying true to yourself when a world that like really keeps you trying to tell you who you should be, especially in this day and age of social media?
If you are true to yourself, there is no challenge. You just are who you are. Now, I think that a lot of people compare themselves, and then it starts getting into their head. I need to look the certain way. I need to act the certain way. I need to speak the certain way. If you don't pay attention to any of that, you're not influenced by any of that.
That's a great point.
So throughout life, I just, people always say like, you can travel the beaten path or you can make your own. Ever since I was young, I made my own, man. I knew what I wanted. I had a vision. I wasn't stopping until, I achieved it and I got it.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, to conclude that, if you are truly yourself and following your vision and living your life, there is no comparison. You're not
Yeah.
looking at what others are doing. You might gain some inspiration throughout the years.
Correct.
Inspiration's good.
Yeah.
but yeah, the whole copy and paste thing, not for me. I'm drawing from a fresh piece of paper.
I've experienced two sides of the coin
Okay,
where I
let's hear it.
yeah. So I've wanted to do things because I was inspired by others. Like I'm like, wow, that would be awesome. For example, I did acting in my early 20s.
Okay.
Loved it. But it was inspired from exterior sources and I wasn't doing it for the root of why I like
Yeah.
what I loved it for, and that's why I burned out with it.
I was gonna say your love for it tarnished, it diminished.
Yeah, it was like kind of like I don't want to a booty call type thing. It was just like it didn't have longevity to it because the mission behind it, the purpose, it wasn't driven from the root of what drove me. And I think a lot of people do battle with that, and also looking at the end result. I think looking at the end result is what a lot of people get caught on, especially at a young age. Like with you going through what you went through at 21, it seems like it was almost like a prerequisite to what you started doing as time went on.
Mhm.
Like it showed you a different lens of life and
Yes.
how it's like, look, days are long, years are short, but I'm here for the long run with this. And you've talked about small wins being the key to progress, which is embedded in me myself, the 1% Better brand. If we had to put that into a snowboarding analogy, I'm going there right now.
Okay.
If we had to put this into a snowboarding analogy, what's the first trick someone needs to land to build confidence in life?
So I would say with skateboarding or snowboarding, if you can get like a 50-50 or a board slide, those are the two most basic tricks. Everything else stems from that. So if you have those tricks as your foundation, you can expand upon that. For example, if you do a spin onto a rail, you're still landing in that board slide motion. So if you're used to that motion, you should be able to land it and rock with it. If you're used to that in life, you should be able to take it on, roll with it. Now, if you fall, what do? You get back up, you do it again. I think that skateboarding and snowboarding is one of the best life analogies. There's something in these boarders' brains that you don't stop until you get it. Like, you could be at the skate park for 3 hours trying the same trick. To some people, that's crazy talk. To you as a kid, you're learning that trick, you're getting that trick. You as an adult, that taught you to never give up until you accomplish what you set out to do. So if you have the basics of a 50-50 and a board slide, I'm still doing those two tricks, but in different variations now. I can do a whole spin into that 50-50 and continue to ride it out. But if I didn't learn a 50-50,
Who knows?
you would never build yourself up to that point, to be able to do those bigger, larger, harder tricks.
Love that. And I love how you framed it with getting those basics down to build the foundation to grow upon that. But I never even thought about this with snowboarders, skateboarders, from a standpoint of you're failing 9 times out of
Dude,
10,
you are eating it. Like,
way more than you're succeeding. But when you do succeed, as much as the quick dopamine hit is so powerful for people these days, I can't imagine what that feels like after all the lessons that you're going through of like, you know what? I didn't twist as much here. Oh, I missed this. Like
you're learning throughout it.
you're learning through it. So you do eventually get it. So once you do nail it, it has to be like, it's almost like golf to a degree too. It's just like
Almost.
that shot that you have a bad round and then you finally start hitting those good shots. It's just like, I guess why I'm coming back again.
You could have the worst round of your life, but you could also have the best shot that you've ever had in your life. You can shoot a 94, but if you have a hole in one that round, it might not be the best round, but that might be the best shot you've ever had in your life.
We do have experience seeing that too. For listeners, Mark and I were golfing a handful of years back, and I got a chance to witness his.
Wait, were you there for that?
Yes.
Dude, there's like guys on the tee box because it was two groups for a bachelor party.
Yeah, it was for Port's bachelor party, and I was there. And I'm like,
no way.
And we were looking for the ball. We were going all over the place, and because you couldn't see the hole itself from the tee box.
There was the pond in the front, the pin was in the front, and it wasn't fescue, but like the cattails
Yes.
were
So
in the way.
you couldn't see the hole itself. So we're looking around, we're looking in the rough, and you're like, dude, I think we lost the ball. And then I think it was you that walked up and you're like,
Dude,
it's in the hole. It's in the hole.
yeah,
And the celebration was just
unreal.
like it was like a moment of holy shit, what just happened? And then it hit, it's just like, Gamma got a hole in one. Gamma got a hole in one. And then
It's
we just all started
crazy.
celebrating. That was what an amazing moment.
But I mean, dude, I probably shot like low 90s that day, so it wasn't the best
Yeah.
round,
But
but like,
all you remember is
is
that.
that hole exactly that
Yeah.
one shot, that feeling?
Yeah. I want to get to just high performers because I do look at you as like a very high performer. If, for example, getting this podcast situated, it was just like, no, we'll figure it out. We'll get it going. Like
So
there,
Chuck and I actually had this plan for like 2 months ago, and then both of our lives just got crazy. But we're here now.
yeah, and it's just like it's kind of like the old Bruce Lee saying, "Be like water, find a way." And we really did make that happen. And I look at high performers. They all have rituals. Some people meditate. Some people hit a cold plunge, blast music, sauna, exercise. Is there a daily habit in your life that keeps you locked in of how you like to approach things?
Short answer: faith. God.
Talk to me about it.
Overall answer: faith. Now, there's
Yeah.
obviously the health things and your eating habits, rest, training or practice. All of those things will get you to perform at the best of your abilities.
Mhm.
Throughout the cancer experience, throughout going through life and getting older, I have just, God is always there for you. He's helped me through some of my hardest times. He's helped some of my family members and friends get through their hardest times. So overall, I mean, you can eat healthy every morning. You can have your rituals. You can do the cold plunges. You can execute at your highest performance level from a physical standpoint. But if you're not there mentally, I've seen people crumble.
Yeah.
Who are, stars, athletes, and there's no rhyme or reason for it because the day before they're hitting home runs, the day after they're hitting home runs. That one game in the middle when they actually needed to hit it, they might not be able to do it, but they are technically at the top of their performance level. I think that's when faith comes in. Every day you can be performing at that level, but if you don't have that mentality, the emotional support with it, and the strength from faith, I mean, you'll still do well. Don't get me wrong. I think that really does just bump you to that next level.
Yeah,
it's rooted.
Yeah, it's rooted in everything.
It's rooted in you. Yes.
I would use myself as an example with that too. Like I had supreme faith when I was going through brain surgery. I'm like, everything's gonna work out.
You have, dude, when you're laying in that hospital and in that bed, there's no one near you. You sit there and pray. Like,
you just look up, look forward. I remember having conversations like when I was just in there by myself at points, which was kind of rare. Like I had a lot of people come visit me and things like that. And like you said, you're supporting cast, your family, your friends, anybody that's reaching out to you, feel that energy differently. And I hope we get to a point as species where we can actually measure what that does for people and actually see it, because there's so many things you can't see. You can't see momentum. You can't see what's going on inside somebody's head when they're feeling good, when they're feeling bad. But like, how do you quantify that? But like, just back to the point, having that faith, I know I have a higher purpose. I know I am supposed to get through this and do more, and that confidence, it does something to you.
it
And
does something.
having God to latch on to, the best, in my opinion, the best therapist or the best listener out there. It's not immediate a lot of the time.
You have to trust the process.
Trust the process. Yeah.
You have to look at the big picture and envision it, what it's going to be. Not tomorrow, but a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Like, what's your purpose? So one of the things that I also started saying was like, walk. Is that you?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. one of the things I started saying was walk by faith, not by sight. You know, human eyes can see everything the same, but when you have that additional faith, you see things from a little bit of a different perspective. You know, other people's visions might be a little bit cluttered. You're blessed enough to have that clear vision to be able to see the big picture in the long term scale of things.
Does that walk with you really in your day to day, like when you're
Oh, yeah.
doing everything, shooting videos
I mean,
and
you have to
yeah.
trust. I think when you, I don't know, I would say I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. So, with that being said, you know, instead of double checking or triple checking your work, you need to know that you're at the level that you do it once, maybe double check it twice. I always say measure twice, print once, but you should be confident enough that you are moving throughout your day powerfully and not stopping for these little things that can just knock you off the tracks. And next thing you know, you're not getting what you have to get done within that day.
Sure. Totally.
So I'd say every day I have that mentality, you know?
It's momentum. It is a
Motion,
strong
baby.
motion. Yeah, it's a constant state of motion, constant state of flow, and momentum really is everything. You've built it. You've built many things, and it doesn't seem at all that it's slowing down. What's next? I know the family is very close to
Family is next.
adding
Short
another.
answer.
Yeah.
That's going to be my concentration over these next few months. I just want to be there. I mean, even now in the late pregnancy stages, I mean, you really have to be there for them, whether it's taking out the dog, cooking dinner, if they need, you know, food or a drink and they're comfortable on the couch and they don't want to get up, you just have to be able to accommodate to that. So that's been recently, and then also fitting that into your work schedule and taking care of the house, the dog, the yard. Transitioning into having the baby and post baby is, again, just making sure my wife is all taken care of. I'm there for her. I would like to be here raising the baby. Um, you know, you hear all these stories of dads and moms just being MIA, and they don't like, I don't want to say care, but I want to be there every minute and every second I can. I mean,
Oh, no,
I
I
haven't
see.
had this experience yet, but you have with your daughter. You probably just
Oh,
want to
all the
be
time.
there with her all the
Just
time.
probably by the time this airs, she'll be 2. She's approaching 2 right now,
Okay.
and she's a midget terrorist at points. They can't tell her anything, and she is. Everybody says it. She's a carbon copy of me as a
Okay.
as a baby. But to your point, I want to be there every
All
single
the
moment,
time. Yeah.
and because you'll see very quickly, and listeners are that have children will probably resonate with this as well. The evolution of a child, of how quickly it goes. Like I said, the
Oh my
days are long,
gosh.
but the years are short. In a matter, and I want to experience all those moments of evolution and growth as much as I possibly can.
Yeah.
And if I had to put all my success, everything I do in my life, it doesn't matter unless you're a good father.
Mhm.
That's how I look at it. Like being a good parent, raising somebody that is going to change the world for the better. As much as people say we're a speck and this and that, but you want to make making an impact comes from like
Starts
really
with one
being
person, man.
totally,
Starts with one thing.
and then it just compounds and
Mhm.
it keeps going. So one, I'll say you're going to be a great pops.
Thank you, man. But I would say, yeah, the next short term, I'm just concentrated on being a father, staying on top of my work,
Cool.
being here for my wife, raising our baby and kid together.
Yeah.
Long term, dude, I am never changing. I will be on that skateboard, be on that snowboard. I will be making videos. You know me, music's huge with me. You will still be seeing edits with slappers in them. Like I'm so into cars, man. I can't wait to have, you know, baby girl out in the garage with me. So
Yeah.
my life will continue to go on, but for the time being, I did take a little bit of a step back so I can concentrate and be here. This is
Okay.
actually my first year not taking a plane or going to the West Coast.
No
So
kidding.
it's been a little bit different, but it's a good different. You know, change is good if you make it good. So I've been I took a couple tours up and down the East Coast this year, but it's been nice, you know, just being able to be here and spend that those last moments with just each other and those date nights.
Yeah.
So I did cancel a bunch of events. Well, there were some other things that happened that led to that, but blessing in disguise is what we'll call it.
Always.
So yeah, man, I'll be back at it soon, but for now, family is the priority.
Love it. Yeah, man. It's number one. I think the thing with you that I've noticed from day one of us connecting, talking, hanging out, you're always giving back to people. You're giving to others. You're serving, giving so much energy. But let's flip it. Let's flip it around. What's something that you need from your community that will help take your mission even further of who you are and what you do?
Oh, man. Honestly, just like volunteer time and help, financially speaking, is a huge thing too. All these events came out from my own pocket. Like, I supplied the sponsors, the product, the marketing, advertising, the graphic design, the social media aspect of it. I bring the photographers in, I bring the filmers in, I post the edit. It gets distributed across, I don't even know how many online magazines. But these resorts want me to continue to do this, but they don't want to compensate from it. Now, those days are magical. They're priceless. I don't really care about the money, but when it's 6 years of doing it,
It's a grind.
it kind of gets to that point where hobbies cost money, and I'm down to put the money into it. But, when you're a multi-million-dollar resort, you can't toss a couple bucks like here and there. You know what I mean? So
Totally.
I would say financially speaking, it helps put these events on, and it helps me be able to do more because I'm not so concentrated on working on this budget out of my own pocket.
Totally.
The other thing is, just volunteer work and volunteer time. Over the years, I've had my one friend start helping me with like the graphic design work, just because that takes hours to do.
Right.
I had other people bring like the speakers and microphone. Eventually, like the mountain donated like the DJ. So over time, people did start chipping in and everything, and it all works out. But doing all these things and events and planning, it's a lot for one person, to do.
I can imagine what's going through my head is like, how do you manage your time?
I don't sleep, dude. Because that's the thing. Like, when you have your name attached to that or your brand attached to that,
There's so much at
people are
stake.
expecting something.
Yeah.
So you kind of have this ball in your court that you can't miss that next shot with. So I have made a lot of these things beneficial to me, and being able to work in this way that is like almost impossible. Impossible is nothing, baby. Like, if you have this mentality to do something, I'm getting it done.
Do you believe in manifestation and all that?
Speak it into
Yeah.
existence.
Yeah.
To an extent, I'm not reading like zodiac signs or nothing, but like if I if I say to myself that I'm gonna do something, dude, I am doing that. Like, if my friend tells me something that they want to do something, I will be there as much as I can to help them accomplish that.
I think what it does is it gets everything out of the way
Mm-hmm.
for what it's not having blinders, but it's almost like I just know what's going to move the needle and what isn't when I decide on what I want to do. You guys just got to sit back and wait for me to accomplish it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just going on that journey. What a lot of people battle with is quick fixes or quick results.
I'm saying they want that instant gratification, and like, back to the events, they might get that instant gratification of coming out and being able to ride with us that day, and they go home with some product, and cool. You got a new hoodie today. You want a snowboard. Yeah. It's cool for that day, but what I was trying to create is these memories that they're going to have for the rest of their lives. We didn't have these events growing up, really. So them being able to ride at something that isn't normally built in the park, or them being able to ride with these certain people or get these certain media that, they might not have access to a photographer. Yeah. Those are life moments that you will remember for forever. I remember when I was a kid going to Spring Mountain, they had like one competition series. I'll never forget it. I wouldn't say it changed my life, but like it changed my life.
Well, you're speaking about it right now. X amount
Exactly.
of years later, you're doing the same thing for these kids that,
I want them to have that childhood memory. And
yeah,
for the further extent of it is planting those seeds in their heads that give back to the community, be cool to people. Like you're not too cool for that kid that's younger than you.
no,
Talk to him, inspire him, teach him that trick. Take 1 or 2 minutes out of your day. Like, I think people just, it's so easy to say no or come up with an excuse when you could actually be changing someone's life, whether if it's that one event that they went to, if it's that one conversation, or if it's that one product that they won. I think it goes a lot further than just like, oh yeah, like an event's a lot to run. Well, yeah, no shit. But the things that come out of it are so much higher than,
it's
you know,
priceless.
a bill or an expense. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
so worth it, man.
it's a. I think experiences are the most priceless commodity that are traded amongst human beings.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had a guest on a couple weeks ago, Coach Phil Martelli. I mentioned it earlier,
Yes.
and I told him on the podcast at the end. I said, "You gave me some of the best memories of my life," because he ran a basketball camp at St. Joe's. It was a team camp where it was you would sleep over,
My
and
cousin did that. I knew I recognized that name.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it was, dude, some of the best memories of my life come from that. And we can use so many anecdotal things that we
Yeah.
think about, but that alone, like just that. And then when the question was asked to him, or not question, when I said it to him, you could see him light up. And I'm sure it's the same thing with
It
yourself, with me.
sparks
Yeah.
something in you that it's just like that.
Yeah.
Like we talked about that feeling of helping someone or giving back. It's
Yeah.
that same feeling of just gratification and just be a good person.
Yeah. Which
Like,
isn't is kind of underrated to be a good person. For Well, I have two last questions.
let's do it.
One,
I got two last answers for you.
what does 1% better mean to you? And I don't ask this to every guest, but I'm very curious. What does it mean to you?
So 1%, obviously, I know your saying is that every day you should strive to be 1% better than what you were the last day.
Yeah.
Whether it's something that you did that you're working on, something that you're working on as a person, you should be improving yourself every day.
Mm.
The 1%, honestly, what it means to me is people look at like 1% or 1 cent and they think, oh, that's so little. The
Yes.
little things is what makes up the big things. Like the little things matter. So all these 1% eventually add up to 100%.
Yeah.
So if you're making these small little changes or fixes or, new, I don't know, ways
Habits,
of
anything.
life that you would
Yeah.
like to go about, if you're not making those small steps every day, you're not going to get to that final destination. So if you continue to chip at it, I think it's a lot more realistic and doable to achieve those goals of yours.
Love it.
So when I hear 1%, I think small quantities that make a whole.
Mm.
I think people see that one and they're like, oh, one, like it's nothing. Well,
Yeah.
100 ones is something.
Yeah.
It's like people like throw out their change. I'm like, dude, 4 quarters is $1. That adds up quick.
It really does. Anytime I have asked it to people on here, I get a different answer every time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the really cool thing about it, and just hearing the perspective behind it. I
So
sort of
let me ask
Yeah,
you,
go ahead.
what does it mean to you?
It's very similar to what you said. For me, it is just getting a little bit better every single day in different aspects of your life.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter if it's professionally related, personally related, health related,
Family related, whatever it might be.
family, any spectrum of your life to where your time gets dedicated towards it. Improve it a little bit. Like, how can I be a better active listener when I'm with my wife or my friends or my coworkers? How can I get in a little bit better health? How could I improve my faith?
Mhm.
Is it praying more? Is it going to church? Anything, and implementing that. And like you said, those small quantifiable things add up
That's up
over
at the end of
time.
the day.
So that's how I look at it. I look at it as like, just do one thing better every single day. And I speak this to my reps all the time. Like, I don't care if you get better at pitching today. I don't care if you get better at objection handling, managing your time, your productivity,
Because one week it could be the time
focus.
management, the other day it could be pitches. But
Yeah.
within those 2 weeks, when you look at those 2 weeks or those 2% at the end of
Yeah.
the year, you
Still
could be a
there.
whole different
Yeah.
person at pitches or time management because you started investing that little bit of time. And before you know it, your whole entire business plan's changed because of how active you are now and
Yeah.
attentive you are, you know?
Time goes by quick. I just passed my 6-month mark since brain surgery. It's a really nice milestone.
Blessed and
And
thankful.
yeah, beyond belief. And it's how quickly things compound and add up if you're just doing a little bit every day. Like, I have this affirmation that I say to myself, I don't care how small the amount of things that I do today. I just want to do something that pushes me
Mhm.
closer to where I want to get to. Doesn't matter how large it is, whatever it may be. It may be just like booking a call. And I'm like, okay, I did that today. Nice. That's a win.
But that
Momentum.
one call could be your biggest client,
Big time. Exactly.
you know?
Yeah. So it's the frame of mind. It's looking at things and the total approach. It's really important.
Very important.
Um,
I love that 1%, man. I really do.
Thank you.
Like it just, if more people looked at, a smaller thing, it's a lot easier for them to wrap their head around it.
I think too, what it does is it keeps people within themselves without
Yes.
getting too wrapped up on what's going on outside of their control or what they can't do. Like, control the controllables type
I was going to say, most
mindset
people, we're trying to control uncontrollable variables.
all the time.
Props to you if you can, but like
Yeah.
most of the time they're uncontrollable. You have to be able to roll with it, come up with the solution, pivot on to the next. Like
Yeah.
the people who get stuck, they're not getting any percents of that day. You know,
If anything, they're taking 1% back.
they're subtracting percents.
That's a big thing. So I really do try to just think about, like, what can I control? What can I move forward with? And just compound that over time. And it does lead to just big things.
It
Uh,
does.
and
Whether it's
not having
personal
an
goals or
end
business
result.
goals, like it it
Yeah.
it does add up over time.
Yeah. Um, Last question for you.
Shoot.
For people listening right now who really do want to support what you're doing, because I know they're going to listen from a standpoint of, like, how can I support Mark? What's the best way that they can get involved today?
First and foremost, follow your own dreams first.
Yeah.
If you have a goal or a dream or a vision, do that. Like accomplish your dreams, make those come true for you, for yourself. If you would like to support me in my dreams, I mean, I answer DMs, text, emails, calls, you name it. Like you call me, I'm answering it. I don't have my contact information out there on the internet. Like I said, I kind of go by word of mouth or referrals. If you would like to work with me, I would love to work with you. Well, if you want to work with someone, you have a way of finding how to reach them. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So I would say follow your own dreams first and foremost. But yeah, if you ever want to talk to me, contact me, have a question for me, would like to work together, send me a DM, an email, give me a call. Like I'm on here with Chuck. Chuck has my contact information. But I think that definitely siftles out some of those people who I don't like people who waste time. I don't like people who aren't attentive that they are wasting someone else's time. So I think that if they need to, you know, if they really want to make something happen, they will make it happen. And if they have a vision and then want to bring a piece of apparel to life, let's do it. I'm stoked. I'm more than happy to help you out with that vision.
Love that.
So I don't know, man. It's life's just crazy. It really is. But I would
Chapters.
say you can, I mean, JahFeelz, Gamma Printing Co., Mark Gama. If you type in any of those things, even just on Google, I can promise you something will come up.
Yeah, man. It definitely will. And I was just gonna say chapters, different chapters. Life is crazy. Mark, I can't thank you enough for coming on. This has been an absolute pleasure. I
This
can't
was the
wait to.
highlight of my day, man. I was looking forward to this.
And yeah, you made my day as well. And like I said before, you're such a light to everybody you surround and come in contact with. And if you do get the opportunity to connect with Mark, you'll jaw feel it very
Let's
quickly.
talk, man. Yeah, let's
I don't know if
talk.
I said that correctly though.
Now you
I said
feels.
jaw.
I
I
feels you.
feels.
I
My
feels
man,
you. But yeah, man, I hope you have a wedding tomorrow for Carly.
I do.
So
Yes,
congrats to Carly and the whole
thank you.
Connors family.
Yeah,
You guys are gonna have a freaking blast. But
shout out to Carly Rosie.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
But dude, if you're ever free or want to get out on the course,
Yeah.
I love playing.
We'll
I'm always down to linker to do something, man.
I know you're going to be baby
Busy
heavy.
for a little bit.
You're going to be busy for a little bit. You're going to be a little bit more tired than you normally are, but we'll definitely get out on the links too, because magic happens when we get out on the links together.
Maybe it's Chuck that I've been missing this whole time.
Hey, you might have racked up some more hole-in-ones at this point if that was the case.
I don't know.
Yeah, but all right. Well, for everybody listening, thank you again for tuning in to another episode of 1% Better, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Thank
Take care,
you again
everybody.
for having me, man. I really do appreciate it.
You got it, brother.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening.